Good morning, boys and girls. You can tell that we're outside my house. I'm actually going to take you on a tour of my garden because I want you boys and girls to talk with me and to think with me about adaptations. Those are those characteristics of plants or animals, living things, that allow them to be perfectly suited to their environment. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over here and switch my camera around so that you can see, oh my goodness, look at all of those lilies. Now, lilies are perfectly suited to being in a garden ready for the pollinators, for the hummingbirds, for the honeybees, for the butterflies. And part of the reason that they are is because they have a beautiful, beautiful smell. Now, I don't have smell-o-vision, but if we could get close enough to smell it, it smells sweet. It smells like a bird or an insect would be attracted to this, that it would be like candy. Now you can see that our lilies have a very long body here and lots and lots and lots of pollen. These are tuberous plants, so that means that when the hummingbirds, and yes, I do have hummingbirds, and bees and butterflies come, they sit on this blossom, and they have to work pretty hard to get to the part that has nectar for them. And while they're working hard to get into the tube of that lily, you can see that probably get all kinds of pollen stuck on their feathers or on their body that they can carry to another plant. And that's one of the reasons why I probably started out with, maybe 4 or 5 plants that were all alike. But look at how they have expanded across my garden because they are so suited to those pollinators coming and getting pollen and on their bodies and then dropping it somewhere else so we can spread out our lilies. The other thing I'd like you to see at this place is this is called passion plant, and when it gets to be hotter, these berries will be bright red, and that'll be another thing that says to the pollinators, come, I have something for you too. I have food for you. The lilies will die out and the passion flower will start to bloom. Now you also see that these passion flowers have very, very large leaves, and the leaves are very green. That's because this part of my yard is very sunny. And so it has to have plants where the leaves are large enough and have enough chlorophyll that it doesn't matter how sunny it gets, they still can produce food quickly. They won't burn out. I'm going to show you some plants that are burned out because they got too much sun. But this passion plant can just keep getting taller and bigger and spreading its leaves out because it's very well adapted or suited to a warm and sunny spot. I also have one more plant over here that's called an elephant ear. And this elephant ear is also adapted to a very sunny environment, but it can also live in shade. This umbrella plant can survive in the rainforest because look at how big those leaves are. It's bigger than my hand. It's bigger than 5 hands. And so even if it has a shade over it and the sunlight has to work really hard to get to those particular leaves, it is adapted to either a sunny environment or a shady environment. It can survive in either place because of its adaptations. Okay, now we're going to go over here to the other side. I'm not walking very far, but you see that now I have some plants that the leaves have turned yellow. And this is not fall. This is not appropriate for them to start turning yellow and falling off. It's because this plant has gotten too much sun. It needs some shade. And you can see that the shady spaces are where the flowers bloom. So that's why they've used the energy of the sun to make beautiful flowers in the shade. But this part that's gotten too much sun is not very well adapted to being in that full sun space. Most of that plant is protected by the taller trees that are around it. The taller trees make shade for those plants to grow beautiful flower blossoms, to use that energy from the sun to make flowers, and not to have the leaves burn up. The leaves are not really very large, so they don't have the capacity of using the sunshine as quickly maybe as they should. So that's an adaptation of that plant, is that it either needs to be in it needs to be in shade of another plant. It really can't survive in this very, very sunny climate. So plants have adaptations. I wonder what kind of adaptations that animals have. Well, we know that sometimes animals have wings that will allow them to move from place to place. Oh, I just noticed. Do you boys and girls see my barrette that's in my hair and it's bright purple? If we were in a shady place, it would probably turn white. This is a very special kind of, it's a barrette that I bought, believe it or not, when I was traveling in Alaska. Because Alaska gets so much sunshine during the summertime that people have to be very careful not to stay outside too long, because they will get sunburned, just like we get sunburned here in Friendswood. So you'd see people would have clips like this in their hair, or they would have those UV beads that would be in bracelets that would tell them, uh-oh, you've been outside a little bit too long. You need to go back inside. You've had plenty of sunshine for right now. So now we're in my backyard, and I'm going to flip the camera around. And you can see that I live with lots and lots and lots of trees behind me. On the other side of that fence is actually a forested area. So the kinds of animals that are well adapted to my environment are probably birds, maybe squirrels, raccoons, chipmunks that can crawl. Yes, lots and lots and lots of lizards. I'm going to show you my lizard hideout. I probably have about 100 anoles, those green anoles that live in this area right here. And early in the morning, when it is sunshiny, and they're scampering about, they usually are green. If they step over into the stones, what do you think would happen to them? They would probably change colors, turning into a brown. And you can see that my house is gray, and I have lots of windows. And my kitty cats will sit on the other side of that window and start telling the anoles that they wished that they would get out of their yard. And when that happens, the anoles will actually turn gray. Can you see the little anole that's over there that's turned gray, so that the kitty cats will miss him and not notice that he's there? That's an adaptation. The ability to change colors so that you blend in with your surroundings. That's a way of being safe in your environment. Let's see, so we were talking about the kinds of adaptations that plants and animals might have. Maybe it's so that they can be fast and they can get away from predators. Maybe it's so that they can burrow, that they know how to dig and climb under things in order to be safe. using the trees and the natural surroundings in order to find a safe place to lay eggs or to have babies. So our project for this week is to build an organism, either a plant or an animal, because you remember an organism is anything that is living, that might be perfectly suited to your environment. Now you see that I have a toilet paper roll. Not necessarily am I going to decorate my toilet paper roll and turn it into an animal, but I want all of our animals to be at least this big. Obviously, if you made a bug and it was like this, it would be very easy to hide it anywhere, to hide it in stones or concrete or whatever. So I want you to think of something that could be adapted to your environment that would be at least this big. Well, I'm going to turn my camera around again, and you see that in my backyard I have a lot of flowering plants, and I do have a lot of what we call ground cover. This is like grass, but it grows up like a tree, and it gets tall in the spring and the summer, and then it dies back out in the winter time. So I'm going to say that probably my organism would be well adapted if it could be green, or if it had those kinds of claws that could help it burrow. Maybe if it was a snake or a lizard, so that it could actually crawl under this greenery, and then it wouldn't matter what color they were or what kind of markings it had. But I'm thinking of the kinds of things that might keep an organism safe in this environment. And that's your assignment as well, to design an animal or a plant that's at least as big as a toilet paper roll. Make it out of paper, recycled materials, crayons, wood. Think about the things you have at your house. Design your animal. Make sure that it has everything that it needs. An animal probably would not, don't create things that could never happen. For instance, you can put horns on yours, but don't make horns that also spit poison, because that's probably not something that you would find in your backyard. So think of those adaptations that would keep your animal or plant safe. Take a picture of it inside your environment, and then have Mom and Dad send it to me. We'll have a whole collection of Galloway animals and plants that could survive in your backyard. Have fun with this. I'll see you soon.